Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. 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 Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamuduriyat Nashtaprayeshvabhadreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. So, 10th Canto, Chapter 41, Text 47. Nahi vang vishama drishti suhridor jagadatmanao samayo sarvabhuteshu bhajantang bhajatorapi nahi vang vishama drishti suhridor jagadatmanaha samayo sarvabhuteshu bhajantang bhajatorapi nahi vang vishama drishti suhridor jagadatmanoho sammayo sarvabhuteshu bhajantang bhajatorapi. Nahi vang vishama drishti suhridor jagadatmano samayo sarvabhuteshu bhajantang bhajatorapi. Nahivang Vishamadrishti Suhridor Jagadatmano Samayo Sarvabhuteshu Bhajantam Bhajatorapi Nahivang Vishamadrishti Suhridor Jagadatmano Samayo Sarvabhuteshu Bhajantang Bhajatorapi Nahivang Vishamadrishti Suhridor Jagadatmano Samayo Sarvabhuteshu Bhajantang Bhajatorapi Nahivang Vishamadrishti Suhridor Jagadatmano Samaya Sarvabhuteshu Bhajantang Bhajatorapi Na, there is not. He, indeed, Vam, on your part, Vishama, biased, Drishti, vision, Suhrido, who are well-wishing friends, Jagat, of the universe, Atmano, the soul, Samayo, equal, Sarva, to all, Bhuteshu, living beings, Bhajantam, those who worship you, Bhajato, reciprocating with, Api, even. Translation. Because you are the well-wishing friends and supreme soul of the whole universe, you regard all with unbiased vision. Therefore, although you reciprocate your devotees' loving worship, you always remain equally disposed toward all living beings. Because you are the well-wishing friends and supreme soul of the whole universe, you regard all with unbiased vision. Therefore, although you reciprocate your devotees' loving worship, you always remain equally disposed toward all living beings. No BBT purport, but both Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami mention a couple of verses in this connection. Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur says, though you are equal to all, you show special mercy to your devotees. Bhajantam bhajatorapi. As Krishna says in Gita, samohang sarvabhuteshu. Actually, you are merciful to that person who worships you, whether he is a Brahmin or dog-eater, without regard for birth or caste. Because of this, you have satisfied me, a garland maker, and the weaver. And Sri Jiva Goswami says, also paraphrasing, you two are the friends, since you assist all beings by bestowing Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti to them. And you are the soul of all conscious and unconscious things, Jagat Atmano. Since you are the root cause of all consciousness, You are the soul of all conscious and unconscious things, since you are the root cause of all consciousness. Or, in spreading over the universe, you are the friends and souls of all beings. The word api indicates all beings. You respond to all those who worship you. You are the shelter of anyone, from Brahman to Chandala, who surrenders to you. Therefore, you do not have prejudiced vision, since, having equal vision, you are the friend of all and the soul of all. Though you are merciful to those who worship you, you do not have prejudiced vision, since you are equal in material happiness and distress. The sun is not affected by darkness, and the owl's eye does not see light. Similarly, material happiness and sorrow cannot affect the consciousness of you too. And like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he cites that Bhagavad Gita verse 929, and he also cites a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam from the 9th canto in the section describing the situation between Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni, specifically the correction, you could say, of Durvasa Muni. So we will look at those verses to begin with. Bhagavad Gita 929. Samohang sarvabhuteshu na me dveshyo stina priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mai te teshu chapyaham. Translation. Krishna says, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Srila Prabhupada's purport. One may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone and no one is his special friend, then why does he take a special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination, it is natural. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. The Lord claims that every living entity, in whatever form, is his son, and so he provides everyone with a generous supply of the necessities of life. He is just like a cloud which pours rain all over, regardless of whether it falls on rock or land or water. But for his devotees, he gives specific attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They are always in Krishna consciousness, and therefore they are always transcendentally situated in Krishna. So, Prabhupada especially points out this phrase, maite. They are in me. So, this question of Krishna's bias or impartiality was already brought up this week and discussed. But since it's a significant question, it bears repeated consideration. One could say that, what are the qualifications of God? You could ask this question of anyone. What would be the qualifications of an all-powerful or of the all-powerful being? Well, I can't remember the name of the person who put forward this little argument, but the argument basically was that if if I put forward a description or definition of God and you can improve upon it, then my definition or description is incorrect, or at least inadequate. Right? Because God, by the very meaning of God, supreme, he must be absolutely without equal. Right? He possesses all qualities that can be imagined and beyond that, every quality. So if I say, for instance, that God is all powerful and he's especially devoted to this group of people, or to these, you could say devotees, or to this, whatever, this race or this species, then a thoughtful person could argue that I can improve upon that description of God by saying that he's not partial, that he is actually equal to all, that he stands above all partiality, because he's the source of everything after all. From his point of view, all things and all beings are equal, right? So this is the point. Krishna, from his position, he claims, he announces in Bhagavad Gita that he is the source of everything. That includes all of us, all living beings everywhere. And not only is he the source, but he is also the maintainer of everyone. Whether in the spiritual world or in the material world, every being is sustained and maintained by Krishna, by the Supreme Person. You know that verse that Srila Prabhupada so often quoted, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Yo Vididhadikaman. I skipped a line there, but the supreme conscious living being amongst all other living beings, the supreme, he is special. His position is distinct from all others because he is the one who is sustaining them and fulfilling all of their desires, all of their needs, everything. So this is Krishna's position. And therefore, he cannot be said to be partial. Even those of us who are in rebellion against Krishna, and that's why we're here in the material world, we are generously provided for by Krishna. Prabhupada gives the example of rain falling. It may fall on fertile ground, or it may fall on rock, or it may fall on water. Indiscriminately, the rain is falling. So similarly, the kindness, you could say, the generosity of God is being distributed equally everywhere, even on the heads of those of us who are disinclined to, well, what to speak of serving him, disinclined even to think about him, or to have anything to do with him. That's the nature, actually, of the souls who are entrapped in the material energy. So, well, let's look at that verse in the 9th canto that was also cited. One more thing. If however, anyone approaches Krishna in the correct mood, that is to say, with a devotional attitude and an attitude of love and willingness or eagerness to render service, then Krishna reciprocates in exactly that way. So this is also not, obviously not prejudice, because that relationship, that reciprocal loving relationship with Krishna is not, how do you say, reserved for a certain group of living entities. It's available to all. So how can one say, therefore, that God is biased and is equal? So looking at the ninth, this was this other verse that Jiva Goswami specifically mentioned. Was 9:468. You recall the story. Ambarish Maharaj was engaged in fasting, right? On the Ekadashi, he was fasting. And then, meanwhile, Durvasa Muni arrived there. So the conflict had to do with the etiquette which ought to be shown to any Brahmin, and what to speak of a great, Muni like Durvasa. The idea is that the guest, any guest, and what to speak of a Brahmin, should be fed first before the host takes his meal. That's the standard etiquette amongst civilized persons. So here was the situation. Durvasa Muni had not yet eaten, he had not yet been offered his meal, but Ambarish Maharaj also had to end the Ekadashi fast. As you know, on our calendar, there's the day after, the Devadashi, the day after Ekadashis, there's specific instructions regarding when the fast ought to be broken. So this is in order to, ultimately to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We adhere to this schedule. A fast begins at a certain time and it ends at a certain time. So this was a problem because Maharaj Ambarish had not yet been able to offer food to Durvasa, but the time for breaking the fast. So thinking it over, he thought, well, taking water is sometimes considered eating, but sometimes it's considered fasting, right? So he took a little water, and in that way he satisfied the requirements of the fast. When Durvasa Muni became aware of that, he took offense. And Srila Prabhupada has explained this was really a trivial matter, and there was really no justification for him being so outraged and offended by this. After all, the king meant no harm and had tried to find the very best and most, innocent solution to the problem. But Durvasa Muni did become angry, and he displayed that anger in such a way that the Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Vishnu got involved and began chasing him all over the creation. And he went from lowest planet to the highest planet and everywhere. trying to escape, but of course, this divine weapon is infallible. He could not escape it, and nor would anybody give him shelter or protection. None of the demigods, even up to Lord Shiva, was unwilling to get in the way of the Shudrasha, because that weapon is supreme. So finally, he approached Lord Vishnu, and he said, please, call off your chakra. It's harassing me. but as you recall, the Lord said, I'm sorry, basically. There's nothing that I can do. Because you've offended a devotee, pure devotee of mine, sorry, this is the result. So in this verse, Durvasa starts to come to his senses, and in the previous verse he says, oh, I have offended your most dear devotee, very kindly save me from the reaction. You can do everything. Even if a person is fit for going to hell, you can deliver him simply by awakening within his heart the holy name of your Lordship. So he's saying, you're all powerful. I realize now what I've done. I've offended your devotee, but surely, there's no problem with you saving me from this danger. And then in this verse 63, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Aham Bhakta Paradhino, Hyasvatantra Eva Dvija, Sadhudbir Grasta Hridayo, Bhaktayar Bhakta Jana Priyaha. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead said to the Brahman, I am completely under the control of my devotees. As Durvasa was saying, you're independent and unlimited and all-powerful. But Krishna is saying, no, I'm actually under the control of my devotees. Indeed, I am not at all independent, because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires. I sit only within the core of their hearts. What to speak of my devotees? Even those who are devotees of my devotee are very dear to me. So Krishna expressing his inability due to being completely controlled by and dependent upon his own devotees. Prabhupada says, he quotes, he specifically, he's quoting Narottam Das Thakur in regard to what Krishna says here, even the devotee of my devotee is so dear to me. So Srila Prabhupada's quoting Narottam Das Thakur, Chaddiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Payecha Deva. Keba. Without being a devotee of a devotee, one cannot be released from material entanglement. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu identified himself as Gopi Bhartu Pada Kamalayor Dasa Das Anudas. Thus, he instructed us to become not directly servants of Krishna, but servants of the servant of Krishna. Okay. So, in his comments on this verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti also says something interesting. Here. Sorry for the old-fashioned. He paraphrases this whole conversation between Durvasa Muni and Lord Narayan. Remember, the verse says, the pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. I am always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. And Vishwanath Chakravarti says, paraphrasing the Lord, though I want to give you the suitable result for causing pain to my devotee, I do not do so. Understand that this is because I'm affectionate to Brahmins. In other words, what you deserve is to be punished severely. But because I respect Brahmins, I'm not doing that. And then the devotees are my heart. You who wanted to afflict my Ambarish have afflicted my heart. And then the Muni says, if I have offended you, then I fall at your feet for forgiveness. The Lord says, I am the devotee's heart. When the devotee's heart is pleased, I am pleased. Go to Ambarish and please him. Then the Muni counters, but he invited me and then did not feed me. Instead, he ate. Do you not see his fault? The Lord says, they do not know anything except me. Ambarish does what I desire him to do. Therefore, I ask you. And then the Muni says, therefore I ask you, please reply. Between a Brahmin and a Devadashi, which is more respectable as Dharma? In other words, he's contending that Ambarish should have, disregarded that strict Dvadashi rule, right, for the end of the fasting, and instead done his duty with regard to feeding the Brahmin. So he's asking, which is more important, which is more respectable as Dharma? He's still not quite giving it up. But the Lord says, please go. Ask Ambarish. He will teach you. So the Lord doesn't answer. He says, go and ask Ambarish. He says, since you are so ignorant of the conclusions of the scriptures on Dharma, in other words, since you don't know this, you're obviously ignorant of Dharma, so go and ask Ambarish. He says, do not have any shame about this, right? Don't be embarrassed, right? Even though you're a dumkopf, you don't understand Dharma. And then he says, I also have no knowledge. That's interesting. I do not know anything more than they do. Who's they? My devotees, my pure devotees. Since the Shruti says that drinking water is both eating and not eating, Ambarish has equally respected the Brahmin and the Dvadashi, but you are ignorant. You do not know that. So anyway, it's an interesting paraphrasing of that discussion. The point is that Krishna and his pure devotees are forever linked in the most profound and intimate way. He says that they are in me, and I am also in their hearts. They do not know anything other than me, and I do not know anything other than them. And this brings me to a point that I wanted to talk about, but I won't be able to, but you can consider it. At the end of this preface to the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada writes something which always disturbed me a little bit, I have to say. Let's see, where is he? Where is this? So now I won't be able to find it, of course. Oh, here. Okay. He's saying that instead of satisfying his own personal senses, personal material senses, one has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. And then, listen, the Lord wants this, and he demands it. He demands it. I don't know how many times I've read that sentence, that short sentence, and kind of gotten, it's shocking because we don't tend to think of Krishna in that way. We tend to think of Krishna, you know, gentle and playing lovingly with his devotees and bestowing his mercy on all of his devotees. But this demand to surrender is always there. We are insignificant, but we are parts and parcels of Krishna. We often, and our acharyas have very much emphasized that difference between the minute soul and the supreme being, between the supreme soul, the Paramatma, and the Atma, right? And that's to protect us from the worst kinds of offenses of thinking ourselves to be equal to Krishna. But oneness is also there, right? Achintya Bheda Bheda. It means that we're different, yes, important difference, but we're also not different. We are one with Krishna. Right? And Prabhupada says that, has explained in so many places, that Maya means the illusion of thinking oneself to be separate from Krishna. There is no separation from Krishna. We are always, eternally, part and parcel of Krishna. We are, in that sense, completely inseparable from Krishna. We're one with Krishna. And once one is in his normal state of being one with Krishna and accepting that, right, without reservation, that is to say, surrendering to that existential fact, then the natural loving relationship between the part and parcel and the Supreme Lord is automatic, just as Prabhupada says. It is natural. This is the natural relationship between the part and parcel Atma and the Supreme Atma, the Supreme Soul, right? Krishna and his devotees. So there is no halfway about it. One has to ultimately agree to this without reservation. Okay, Krishna is great. I'm small. He is the supreme being. He is the creator and maintainer of everything, me included. He is also the one who has kindly, mercifully, without justification even, he has maintained me, even here in my state of rebellion. And therefore, it's an obvious, natural thing that I submit myself to him. And that is what we mean by surrender. Once that is there, then naturally, all of these loving exchanges flow. There isn't any need to invent them or practice them. They're already there. The relationship with Krishna is already there. But we're just denying it, which is, it's absurd, actually. It's absurd. Imagine if we can't even fathom the gulf of difference between the greatness of Krishna and the insignificance of ourselves. So the idea that we are snubbing that supreme, personality is just, it's outrageous. That has to end. And once it does, once we say, as Prabhupada said, from this moment, Lord Krishna, I'm yours, at the time when the devotee can say that with full sincerity, then automatically the loving relationship begins to flow between the Lord and the devotee. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvanda Paravindalayatatam Bhagavatam Samasitam Purasundaram Tandar Atom Vidamaniya Ishkeshashoba Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Argani Yasasa Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Hikayanti Nirakanti Ananda Chimaya Sadhu Dara Vigrasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karamore Toma Binak Keta Yala Jagat Samsara Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jaya Karamore Toma Binake Jaya Laku Jagat Samsara Pachita Pavana Etu Tavavatara Moshama Pati to Prabhu na Paibeyagara. Akha Prabhu Nityananda Ramananda Suke Prabhu Nityananda Kripa Balakan Akaro Ami Parunuke Dwaya Koro Sitapati Advaita Gosaka Tamakripa Bo Lepagi Chaitanya Nitya Akasarup Sanna Tanna Rupa Raguna Matachungatse Jiva Rapulokana Doya Koro Sri Acharya Prabhu Srinivas Ramachandra Sangamaki Narottama Takas Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koramo Re Oma Bina Ke Dayadu Jagat Samsara Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Hagalokanana Radha Hagalokanana Radha Nayo Radha Golokanana Radha Golokanana Radha Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Sri Radhe Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paracharya also Tara Shimad His Divine Grace Sabaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Sri Vasudhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Machuranam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Namo. Translation. My dear Lord, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these three worlds? Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls, but I assure you that you will not find more fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first. My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, I may also become happy. My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be kind to me. If you are kind to me, naturally, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me. I pray for the mercy of Sarup Damodar, the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Bhatta Raghunath Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, and Lokanath Prabhu. I, Narottamadas, pray to the merciful Srinivasa Acharya, and I always desire the company of Brahmachandra. Narottamadas. Okay,
Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bhauda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapitani Amita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinada Pi Sunichena Charora Pi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtania, beautiful outfit. Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitamam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vabata Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrishim Vachintaya Nayanam Galata Shudaraya Varanam Gadgada Rudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanamagraha Neva Vishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Aslishyava Padam Ritam Manastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yata Tatava Vindutolam Pato Mat Prananatastu Saeva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to all men. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street. One may be in a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Somehow or other I fall into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like